Commander Auric Vance opened his eyes slowly, as if they were made of stone. The bright white lights of the medical room hurt him, but he refused to close them again. Pain meant he was alive, and after the siege of Ishtar Station, he was not sure he would ever wake up. He tried to move his right arm. The muscles shook. His ribs burned. His leg felt heavy from the metal brace. But even with all that, Auric gave a small, stubborn smile. Humans were hard to break. Everyone in the galaxy knew that now. Across the room, a quiet figure studied a hollow screen. She had light silver markings across her cheeks and soft blue eyes that reflected both kindness and worry. Her name was Dr. Lyra Solon, half human, half Elendran, and she had been fighting to keep Commander Auric alive for 3 days straight. She heard the sound of him shifting. When she turned, her expression brightened with relief. "You're awake," she said gently. Auric tried to speak, but his throat felt dry. After a moment, he managed, "Still alive?" "Yes," Lyra answered. "You survived things no normal human should survive." Auric gave a raspy laugh. "That's what they say about us." Lyra smiled softly, but there was sadness behind it. Humans always carried their pride like a shield, but she knew how much he had lost. She had seen the reports. He threw himself over a group of trapped civilians during the last explosion. That blast would have killed anyone else. She checked his pulse. Even injured, Auric's heartbeat was strong and steady, the heartbeat of someone who refused to give up. "Thank you," he whispered. Lyra paused. She was not used to hearing gratitude from either side of her heritage. Elendrans often treated her like an error. Humans often treated her like a spy. She had learned to expect distance from everyone. "You don't need to thank me," she said. "I do," Auric insisted. "You saved me. That matters." Before Lyra could answer, a loud metallic alarm echoed through the medical hall. The door slid open and a human officer rushed in, breathing hard. "Commander Vance! Dr. Lyra! We have a situation!" Lyra frowned. "What happened?" The officer looked uneasy. "The Elendra Collective issued a new order. They declared Dr. Lyra Solon a species traitor. They want her captured immediately." Lyra felt her heart sink. She knew the Collective disliked her work with humans, but she never imagined they would go so far. Her hands trembled slightly, but she hid them behind her medical coat. Auric tried to sit up. Pain shot through his torso, but he pushed himself anyway. The officer held out a hand. "Commander, you're not ready to move." "Don't care," Auric growled. "You heard the order. They're coming for her." Lyra stepped forward. "Auric, you need rest. You can't protect anyone like this." He gave her the kind of look soldiers gave only when they meant every word. "I'm not letting them take you. Not after everything you've done. Not after you saved us." Lyra lowered her gaze. She had lived her entire life between two worlds, and both had pushed her away. But here, in this broken medical station, a human commander, wounded and barely standing, was willing to fight for her. The officer continued. "We detected a small collective ship entering the system. We can hide Dr. Lyra for maybe 3 hours. After that, they'll find her." Auric clenched his jaw. "Then we don't hide. We run." Lyra blinked in surprise. "Run? With me?" "Yes," Auric said. "If they want you, they'll have to go through me first." The officer looked between them. "Commander, it's against orders." Auric cut him off. "I don't take orders from cowards who leave good people behind." The officer fell silent. Lyra took a small breath. She had faced many dangers before, but this moment felt different. Now the risk was not only to her, but also to someone who trusted her. Someone she did not want harmed. "Auric," she said quietly, "you do not have to put yourself in danger for me." Auric lifted an eyebrow. "And you didn't put yourself in danger for me?" Lyra had no answer for that. Auric reached for the metal support rail and slowly pulled himself up. His injured leg shook violently, and he nearly fell, but Lyra rushed to his side and stabilized him. Even standing hurt, yet Auric's expression was steady and determined. "Humanity survives because we stand together," he said, "and you're with us, whether they like it or not." Lyra felt warmth rise in her chest. In her life, she had been called many things: hybrid, mistake, outsider, but never simply one of us. She looked at Auric, at his stubborn strength and fierce loyalty, and for the first time, she believed she might deserve a place somewhere. The officer finally nodded. "There's an old cargo shuttle in the lower dock. It's barely space-worthy, but it might get you off the station." "That's enough," Auric said. Lyra helped him walk. With every step, Auric bit down on the pain, refusing to slow. If the world wanted to break him, it would have to try harder. As they moved through the dim corridors, alarms echoed around them, and red warning lights flickered overhead. The station felt like it was holding its breath. Lyra glanced at Auric. "Why are you doing this?" He answered simply, "Because when the world tries to break good people, humanity doesn't let it happen." They reached the docking bay. The shuttle was small, old, and shaking from poor maintenance, but it was their only chance. Auric looked at it and smirked. "Looks perfect." Lyra couldn't help smiling back. Even on the edge of danger, humans found humor. Maybe that was their true power. As the bay doors began to open and the cold stars appeared beyond them, Lyra felt her fear slowly change into something else: hope. Two hearts, bruised but unbroken, stepped into the shuttle together. And the galaxy, whether it liked it or not, was about to learn what happens when humanity refuses to let someone they care about fall. The old cargo shuttle shook as it left Ishtar Station. Alarms still echoed behind them, and warning lights flashed across the dashboard. But the small ship pushed forward, breaking through the smoke-filled atmosphere around the ruined station. Inside, Commander Auric Vance sat in the co-pilot seat, doing his best to stay upright. His wounds still hurt, and every breath felt like a battle. Dr. Lyra Solon sat at the main controls, guiding the shuttle with careful hands. Auric watched her quietly. Even under stress, her movements were steady. Her silver facial markings glowed faintly from the light of the stars. "You fly well," he said. She gave a small smile. "Half my childhood was spent fixing broken ships. My mother said it would keep me out of trouble." "Did it?" "No," Lyra said, smiling slightly wider. For a moment, the tension eased, but then a loud beep sounded. Lyra's smile faded. Auric leaned forward. "What is it?" "Collective ship," Lyra said softly. "They found our trail." Outside the window, a sleek black ship appeared in the distance. Its sharp shape and glowing blue engines were unmistakable. Elendran design. Fast, precise, deadly. Auric cursed under his breath. "Can this shuttle outrun it?" "No, but we can hide." She changed the ship's course, diving toward a belt of dusty asteroids. The old engines groaned in protest, but the shuttle slipped into the rocks. Auric tightened his seatbelt. "Lyra, is this safe?" "No," she said honestly. "But staying in open space is worse." Auric nodded. He appreciated her honesty. The shuttle weaved between asteroids. Some drifted slowly, others spun in unpredictable patterns. A single mistake could crush them. The collective ship followed, scanning the rocks. Lyra dimmed the engines until the inside of the shuttle grew cold and quiet. "They are scanning for energy signatures," she whispered. "We must stay hidden." The two sat in silence. Auric's breath grew shallow. He tried to hide the pain, but Lyra noticed. She reached for a small medical injector and held it up. "Let me help you," she said. Auric shook his head. "Save the medicine. We might need it later." "You need it now," she insisted. He hesitated, looking at her. Her blue eyes held no fear, only care. He sighed. Fine. She injected the medicine into his arm. Warmth spread through his chest, easing the sharp pain. He relaxed against the seat. Thank you, he said quietly. You saved me, Lyra answered. I want you alive. Before either could say more, the scanner beeped again. The collective ship was close. Very close. Lyra shut her eyes for a moment, steadying her breath. Auric watched her. She looked calm, but he could see the tension in her hands. He whispered, Whatever happens, we face it together. At his words, Lyra felt a strange warmth in her chest. In her life, she had always been alone in moments of fear. But now, she was not alone. Suddenly, the scanner went silent. Lyra checked the monitor. They passed. They didn't detect us. Auric exhaled slowly. Good. Then let's keep moving. She powered the engines back on, gently guiding the shuttle out of the asteroid belt. The danger was not gone, but they had time now, time to think, time to plan. Auric asked, Why is the collective so desperate to take you? Lyra hesitated. She looked away for a moment, then answered. I discovered something, she said quietly. Something dangerous. Auric raised an eyebrow. What kind of something? Lyra turned on the central holo projector. A map of space appeared, filled with planets and star systems. She zoomed in on a dark region of space near the edge of the galaxy. There is a weapon, she said. A massive energy device hidden inside an Alindran spire. If activated, it can destroy an entire planet. Auric froze. Destroy Earth? Yes, Lyra whispered. That is the collective's goal. They believe humanity is too unpredictable, too emotional, too strong. Auric clenched his fists. So they plan to wipe us out? Lyra nodded sadly. Unless we stop them. Silence filled the shuttle. Auric felt something heavy settle inside him. He had fought in wars, seen destruction, survived impossible battles. But this was different. This was not just another fight. This was the survival of humanity. He looked at Lyra. How much time do we have? 3 months, she said. Maybe less. Auric took a deep breath. And to stop it, we need to get inside that spire. Yes, Lyra said. But it is heavily guarded. Only Alindrans with high-level clearance can enter. Anyone else is killed on sight. Auric let out a short laugh. So it's impossible. Lyra turned to him. Yes, but humans, they do impossible things. Auric smirked. We do. Lyra looked at him with admiration she didn't try to hide. Humans were reckless, stubborn, and emotional, but they were also brave. Sometimes too brave. Auric straightened in his seat. We need a team. People willing to fight back. People who believe humanity still has a chance. Lyra asked, Who will join us? Anyone who's tired of running, Auric said. Anyone who wants to protect their home. Anyone who's lost too much already. Lyra nodded slowly. She understood. War had shaped both of them. But Auric's hope was still alive. That hope was contagious. He continued, We'll travel to the old colonies first. I know a few soldiers and engineers who owe me favors, hard workers, good hearts. And I know a few scientists who distrust the collective, Lyra added. They may help, if I explain the truth. Auric rested a hand on the console. Then we build a resistance. Lyra felt a spark of excitement, something she hadn't felt in years. For once, she was not running away from danger. She was running toward a purpose. A soft light blinked on the dashboard. A nearby colony was sending a signal, a distress beacon. Auric squinted. That's from Varga Outpost. They were hit during the war. Lyra glanced at him. Should we go? Auric nodded. If they're in trouble, we help. Humanity doesn't leave people behind. Not anymore. The shuttle turned toward the outpost. As the stars shifted around them, Lyra looked at Auric again, the injured commander who refused to give up, who refused to leave her, who refused to let humanity fall. Two hearts, both scarred, both stubborn, both brave, were now at the center of something far bigger than themselves. They were no longer just escaping, they were beginning a rebellion. The shuttle landed on Varga Outpost with a rough jolt. Dust clouds rose around the ship as the engines powered down. Outside, the colony looked half-abandoned, broken towers, flickering lights, and long cracks across the ground. The war had left deep scars here. Auric Vance stepped down from the ramp first, leaning on a metal cane. His injuries still hurt, but his spirit was stronger than ever. Lyra Solon followed, scanning the area with a small device. "This place feels empty," Auric muttered. Lyra nodded. "But the distress signal came from here. Someone must be alive." They walked through a quiet street. Broken signs swung in the cold wind. Doors were shattered, windows dark. It felt like the whole outpost was holding its breath. Suddenly, a voice shouted, "Stop right there!" Auric raised his hands slowly. Lyra did the same. From behind a wall, 3 figures stepped out, humans wearing old armor, holding makeshift weapons. Their leader, a tall woman with a sharp gaze, looked at Auric closely. "Commander Vance?" she asked. Auric blinked. "Captain Mira Holt?" The woman cracked a smile. "I knew it. You look worse than when I last saw you." Auric chuckled. "Good to see you too." The tension eased. Mira lowered her weapon and signaled her team to stand down. Lyra watched quietly. She recognized Mira's expression, respect mixed with relief. Auric inspired that in people. "What are you doing here?" Mira asked. Auric answered, "We're building a resistance. We need fighters, engineers, anyone willing to help stop the collective superweapon." Mira's smile faded. "So the rumors were true. There is a weapon." Lyra stepped forward. "Yes, and it will destroy Earth if we don't stop it." Mira glanced at her. Her eyes narrowed at first. Elindran markings were hard to trust. But she saw Auric standing beside Lyra without hesitation. That was enough. "You trust her?" Mira asked. "With my life," Auric said. Lyra felt warmth rise in her chest. Mira nodded. "Then I trust her too." She motioned for them to follow. "Come with me. There's something you need to see." Inside an underground bunker, dozens of survivors worked at old consoles. Screens showed maps, damaged systems, and communication logs. The place felt alive, tired but alive. Mira brought them to a table covered in star charts. "We've been tracking collective movements," she explained. "They're gathering ships near the outer rim, close to the Alindra Spire." Auric leaned over the charts. "So it's happening soon." Lyra studied the data. "This confirms it. We have less time than I thought." Mira crossed her arms. "Tell me how we stop this weapon." Auric looked at Lyra. She nodded and activated the holoprojector. A giant image of the enormous Alindra Spire appeared. Tall, sharp, glowing with blue energy. "This entire structure is the weapon," Lyra explained. "At its center is the core, a huge energy field. If we shut down the core, the weapon dies." Mira frowned. "But how do we reach the core? The spire is guarded by elite Alindran soldiers." Auric smiled. "That's where humans come in. We don't do easy plans. We do crazy ones." Lyra added, "We enter through the maintenance tunnels. I can use my Alindran half to pass some security barriers." "And the parts she can't break?" Mira asked. Auric smirked. "That's my job." Mira laughed softly. "I missed your madness, Commander." Hours later, Auric, Lyra, Mira, and a small team prepared a larger ship from the outpost's hangar. Old, rusty, but strong. They loaded tools, weapons, and supplies. Everyone moved with purpose. Before boarding, Lyra watched Auric quietly. His injuries still slowed him, but his determination never wavered. He inspired everyone here. Mira walked up to Lyra. "He listens to you," she said. Lyra blinked. I don't know about that." "He does," Mira said firmly, "and he fights harder because of you." Lyra felt her face warm. "We are fighting together, that is all." Mira smiled. "Sometimes fighting together is everything." The ship launched into space. Stars streaked past the windows. The Alindra spire waited on the far edge of the galaxy, glowing like a giant blade in the dark. As they approached, the team grew silent. The spire was larger than any station Lyra had ever seen, miles tall, covered in blue energy lines pulsing like veins. Auric stared at it. "That's the thing aiming at Earth." Lyra nodded. "Yes," Mira said. "Then let's break it." They guided the ship toward a hidden service port Lyra had discovered in old Alindran records. The door opened only because her biometric scan matched her Alindran side. Inside, the air was cold and still. Dim lights guided them through long metal tunnels. Auric whispered, "Lead the way, Lyra." She nodded and moved ahead, scanning for traps. The deeper they went, the stronger the hum of the weapon core became, a deep vibration that filled the air like a heartbeat. Finally, they reached a huge chamber. In the center floated a glowing sphere of blue energy, held in place by 4 massive beams. "The core," Lyra said. Mira whistled. "How do we shut that down?" Lyra pointed to a control panel on a raised platform. "That console can overload the stabilizers, but we must protect it until the sequence completes," Auric grinned. "So, we hold the line." Suddenly, alarms blared. Doors shot open. Alindran soldiers flooded in, armed and fast. Auric drew his weapon. "Resistance team, hold positions!" The battle erupted. Auric fired with perfect accuracy, moving even with his injuries. Mira fought at his side, blocking attacks and returning fire. Lyra reached the console, typing commands as fast as she could. Lights flashed. The core pulsed violently. 30 seconds, Lyra shouted. Auric took a bolt to the armor and stumbled, but got up again. Mira covered him, shouting, "Stay alive, Commander!" "Trying," Auric yelled. More soldiers appeared. The team was pushed back. Lyra finished the last code and slammed her hand on the activation pad. "It's done!" The core exploded in a burst of light, not outward, but inward. The energy collapsed into itself. The whole spire trembled. Auric shouted, "Everyone fall back!" They ran as the chamber shook. Metal beams snapped. Blue sparks shot through the air. The resistance team reached the ship just as the spire began to collapse behind them. As they escaped into open space, the Alindra spire crumbled in a massive cloud of blue fire. Auric fell into a chair, breathing hard. Lyra sat beside him, exhausted but smiling. "It's over," she whispered. Auric met her eyes. "We did it, because we stood together." Lyra placed her hand over his. "Two hearts, stronger than a whole world trying to break them." Auric squeezed her hand gently. "And stronger than a galaxy that underestimated humanity." Together they watched the broken spire fade into the dark, knowing they had saved millions, and each other.